Nikkei Asia News Roundup
with Jada and Brian. Welcome to the Nikkei Asia News Roundup with your hosts Jada and Brian,
bringing you the latest updates and insights on the dynamic world of Asia and more.
Now let's delve into the headlines. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.
International prices for palm oil are tumbling as demand shifts to soybean oil and concerns ease about a production decline from bad weather in Malaysia, a major producer.
Chinese tech company ByteDance is set to release its most lucrative smartphone game in its home country, seeking to gain ground on rival Tencent Holdings in the world's largest mobile gaming market.
Car makers are rolling out pricier models to win over affluent Indians as they look to buffer their revenue against an economic slowdown that analysts warn could weigh on growth in the world's third-largest auto market.
Taiwan's opposition-led legislature on Tuesday passed a government budget after axing or freezing significant portions of the cabinet's proposal, raising questions about the direction of politics and defense reforms amid a growing sense of urgency.
A slew of annual earnings previews released by Chinese-listed companies show broad weakness, a Nikkei Asia analysis has found, in contrast to the country's relatively solid official gross domestic product data.
Relations between Pakistan and Bangladesh are experiencing a historic thaw following the ouster of Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina last August, with exchanges of officials increasing between the two countries. Now moving on to the next segment.
Farmed fish emerge as a key global protein source. Over the past 3 decades, aquaculture production, including farmed fish, has more than quadrupled, surpassing beef production and nearing the levels of pork and poultry. Fish and other seafood have gained popularity worldwide as dietary habits diversify. Raising fish is relatively easy and has a lower environmental impact compared with other forms of animal agriculture. With the pressures of global warming and food scarcity, demand for aquaculture is expected to remain strong. In 1961, nearly 50% of fishery products were consumed in Europe, North America, and South America, but their share had dropped to around 20% by 2019. Meanwhile, Asia's share rose to 71%, driven by more diversified dietary habits and higher incomes. Along with growing consumer demand, the introduction of fast-growing fish breeds and technological advances such as the development of vaccines to prevent diseases have significantly boosted aquaculture production. Since 2000, production in Asia has tripled, now accounting for 88% of global output.
Southeast Asia's startup funding drops for third consecutive year in 2024. Southeast Asia's startup funding in 2024 dropped for the third consecutive year, falling to a fifth of the peak it recorded in 2021, with investors anticipating greater uncertainties weighing on the region under the new U.S. administration. According to data compiled by Deal Street Asia, startups in the region raised $4.56 billion in equity funding last year, down 42% from a year ago, and the number of fundraising deals fell 10% to 633. This decline reflects broader challenges in the region's funding environment, driven by macroeconomic pressures and shifting priorities among global investors, the report said. Like many other regions, Southeast Asia's startup funding peaked in 2021 amid a low-interest environment and digital service boom during COVID-19, reaching $23.4 billion. But activity has slowed since then as countries, including the U.S., raised their interest rates.
And now for news highlights. In each episode, Jada and I have a discussion about a recent article or articles that have particularly captured our attention.
And today we're going to talk about some of our recent stories on Donald Trump, who kicked off his second term as U.S. president this week. And we've seen a lot of headlines in the news lately.
Yes. In my introductions, I like to say article or articles. I think we have a record for the most plural articles this time. It's very hard to narrow down to something like, for instance, in his first day as president, let me just give a list of some of the stuff he did. He signed an executive order to pull the United States out of the World Health Organization, out of the Paris Climate Agreement. He pardoned a bunch of people. And also, as we quote, he's holding fire on tariffs for right now. That might change soon, but that's still up in the air. But what we're going to talk about right now are a couple things that affect Asia.
Yes, and regarding that, there's a lot of angles to that as well. And one of them is electric vehicles, right?
Yes, because China is a rising star in electric vehicle production.
Yes, and along with China, Europe, U.S. under the Joe Biden administration, they were pushing for more EVs, but now Trump is kind of pushing back on that, which could benefit his buddy Elon Musk, who's already a leading EV maker in the U.S., right, for Tesla.
The one direction that seems solid right now is to not give China an advantage in electric vehicles.
Yeah. In his inauguration speech, he actually didn't really, hit out strong on China. He didn't go for a strong anti-China rhetoric, but he's already, going on to another part of this, but tariffs. He has threatened tariffs and said that he will impose some on February 1st.
Yeah, he originally, a few months ago, said day one he would do it, but now it's maybe February 1st, which is not too far away. We'll still wait to see what happens on that one. But you mentioned there's another thing going on here, and that's there's this announcement about AI investment.
Yes. So it's by SoftBank Group, OpenAI and Oracle are the three companies that will form a joint venture and invest. They're saying they will invest $500 billion in American AI infrastructure.
Yeah, and the project is called Stargate.
Yeah.
When I first saw that, I was like, what is that? Because a little bit of a sci-fi fan here, and I'm wondering, what is a story about magical portals traveling to ancient Egypt and other planets have to do with AI? But kind of not the point right now, because with the announcement, like, for instance, SoftBank's stock went up 10% that day. So this has already been a boost in certain sectors.
Yeah. SoftBank Group founder Masayoshi Son has, he's already said, he's been close to Trump. He's getting close to Trump. He's already said that he will invest $100 billion in U.S. and create jobs. So this Stargate project is, aside from that, another investment from him. Yeah. And the Stargate project has already, they're saying that they already have a construction going on for a data center in Texas. So it seems like it's moving pretty quickly.
Yeah, it seemed to come out of nowhere almost, but at the same time, there's already been stuff invested and plans underway, and it feels like almost this is a consolidation or a focusing of that through the Trump lens. And Masayoshi Son was there at the White House when this was announced. And that $500 billion is over, I think, 4 years cumulatively, but that initial $100 billion is what's getting it started.
He also, not much on foreign policy has been mentioned yet, but one of the major, focal points will be North Korea, because during Trump's first term, he got really close to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, famously, they met a few times. Yeah, the meetings, it's up to individual interpretation whether they went well, but they met, which is unprecedented between the leaders of the United States and North Korea. And it's curious to see how that's going to go, because he did say offhandedly that North Korea is a nuclear power.
Yes, he did.
Which is something that it's sort of been a taboo to label them as such.
Yeah, because Washington has refused to recognize the country as a nuclear power up until now. And now with North Korean troops, being sent into the Ukraine-Russia war, that's also going to, I don't know how that will pan out, but...
Yeah, Trump is back in the White House, but things seem to have changed around him a little bit, so it's going to be curious to see where that goes. And the other international thing that's been talked about a lot is the Panama Canal.
Yeah, I thought that was a very surprising comment, and Yeah.
It made an interesting point there, where the Panama Canal, which used to be U.S. administered U.S. territory for a long time after it was built until the 1970s, and it's in the control of Panama now, or companies associated with Panama. But one interesting thing brought up in the past few days is that a lot of the port facilities around the Panama Canal are controlled by or mostly owned by C.K. Hutchinson, which is a Hong Kong-based company and owned by one of the richest men in the world, Li Ka-shing, who is from Hong Kong. And so there is a China connection there. And so I'm wondering how much that's going to be leveraged to and how far Trump will go with this, because it's still up in the air about what exactly is going to happen with that.
Yeah, because he's saying he will retake control of the Panama Canal, but obviously the companies and governments are, refusing, or they're saying they are doing a new audit to prove transparency. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes through. And that brings us to the close of today's episode.
We look forward to having you join up again for the next edition of the Nikkei Asia News Roundup.
Stay informed, stay curious. Until next time, I'm Jada.
And I'm Brian. See you again, and take care. This program is brought to you by Nikkei.